All right, today I'm going to talk a little bit about triceps, which are everyone's favorite muscle group, I would think. All right, I'm a power lifter, so obviously triceps are considered to be the most important muscle for the bench press by many coaches. I don't necessarily agree, but that's very common. Most bodybuilders realize at this point triceps are the biggest muscle in the arm, so again, important there. Triceps just important all the way around. So let's talk about some of my favorite tricep exercises as a coach. And I do prescribe quite a few different movements, right? I want to be clear there. And in fact, I didn't include any closed grip benching in this now that I think about it. But we could count closed grip in there also. So what are the movements that I most commonly personally do? And which ones do I prescribe to clients? Setting aside band work, because a lot of times we do band work for tendon health and everything else. All right, what are my staples? They're going to be the bench press, right? It could also be closed grip benching. Why? Well, studies show that the bench press actually builds at least one head of the triceps more effectively than extension and smaller exercises do, right? That being the lateral head. It's just simply more effective. Now, we do a lot of extensions. My lifters do a lot of extensions because we do want to work the long head. So what are some of the extensions you'll see my people do? All right, I keep it very simple. We generally do skull crushers with an easy bar. It's really high on my list. If we want to build really big triceps quickly for lifters who have really good elbow health, right? They have good tendons, good tendon health, no tendon inflammation, things like that. I like a skull crusher with an easy bar, done with a relatively narrow grip, coming down towards the face. All right, arguably, in my opinion, one of the best long head builders. All right, the long head doesn't get built as effectively by the bench press. It's also slightly, by a small margin, the largest head in the tricep. And again, I'm not saying that it doesn't build it, that the bench press doesn't. It just doesn't do it as effectively as, say, a skull crusher. All right, and a skull crusher hits that very, very hard. A lot of people would say, okay, why aren't you prescribing them behind the head? Because they're hard on people's shoulders. Okay, it is far easier to build up healthy elbows than it is to fix problems with your shoulders once they develop. And I find a lot of people who, again, anyone with a history of shoulder issues, the behind the head stuff just wrecks their shoulders. Okay, and I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying that for me as a coach, something I take into account. All right, you'll also saw me doing some dumbbells there. Why do we work dumbbells in? For people who are really struggling a little bit with a little shoulder inflammation, who we want to keep an extension in, and let's say they are having a little bit of problems with the easy bar. Their tendons are getting a little inflamed. We need to rotate it out for overuse, but we want to keep really hammering that long head. I'll work dumbbell extensions in, right? We do them just like a skull crusher, lower them towards the ears with a dumbbell. It's essentially the same exercise, but because we do it with that hammer grip, it's with the palms facing each other, it tends to alleviate a little bit of that stress. Okay, it alleviates a little bit of that stress right there at the elbow. While still being a really good exercise, we can take the tricep through a full range of motion, right? It's a good exercise, one that I like to use, right? One I like to use a lot. And you'll see me demonstrating it up here again. I just kind of ran these in a loop through the background so you guys can see what I'm talking about. If I want a big sledgehammer, let's say though I'm not overly worried about maximizing the development of the long head, and it's not my highest priority, and I'm worried about building bench lockout strength. What do we go with? JM press. There's a lot of ways to perform the JM press. You'll see me doing it here, kind of doing it with my own spin on it. The thing to remember, and you'll hear coach after coach, you'll see coaches with amazing benches themselves who perform it similar to how I do. Okay, you'll see some high level world level benchers still performing it the way that I do. J.M. Blakely doesn't like that, and as everyone says, everyone seems to kind of put their own spin on the J.M. press. The way J.M. Blakely does it, it really looks like a skull crusher, just with your knuckles pointed up, right? I tend to lower it just above my mouth. It looks like a closed grip bench press from the back, but lowered to the mouth. Okay, I feel that really lights up my triceps. The other perk, it turns into a big multi-joint exercise. So when you're doing a JM press that way, what do we see? We still work some front delt. We work a little bit of pec. I personally feel like it's actually a decent shoulder exercise. It's a pretty decent front delt exercise in my experience in terms of what I feel. But it really hammers that long, or the lateral and the medial head, right? The heads of the tricep on the lower half, right, that insert into the elbow. This lift hits them harder than anything I've ever done, right? You really feel that area light up. Incidentally, what's responsible for locking your bench press? Those heads of the tricep. So for people who are struggling at all with, say, the lockout strength, closed grip bench press is a good choice. It's a very good choice. But the JM press really brings a lot to the table. Now, someone who has a really serious problem locking the bench, you might want to consider incorporating both, right? If you can put them into your programming. Right? Because I usually like a tricep exercise. I usually like, for a lot of my lifters, a secondary press of some type besides the benching. And that could be where your closed grip bench fits in. It could be where a dumbbell press fits in, incline, any of that, right? Just trying to wall round the muscles and build your weakest links. Inclines and dumbbells both work really good there. But then if you're really struggling with the lockout, a closed grip bench, build big, thick triceps. But the JM press is a sledgehammer. It is a sledgehammer. Some of these are finesse movements, right? You look at like the dumbbell extension. This is a finesse movement, not about moving big weight. The JM press, we can move some real big weights. We can really load a ton of mechanical tension on the triceps, and we can really get them used to moving some big weights as the primary mover. Okay, moving real big weights and a lot of mechanical tension. So again, just different movements with a different purpose. Now, I know people who don't bother with extensions at all. They just do stuff like closed grip pressing, JM presses, who have big monstrous triceps, who have big benches. So not everyone has to do extensions. Not everyone has to do extensions. I like to program extensions. I like to give a lot of them to clients. I feel like they're beneficial for, at least half of lifters can really benefit from doing extensions. But, there are other lifters who can just do the big, heavy stuff like that. Their triceps will get thick. They'll get strong, as long as they can keep the tendons healthy. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.